Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to episode 16 of In the Red Corner. Joined today for this special Friday lunchtime edition by Mr. Grant Winstanley. How are you, sir?
Great, mates. As always, Friday feeling and all that, mates.
Yeah, I've even got my Friday shirt on.
That's it.
Cool. Let's kick it off.
Yeah.
I woke up this morning and checked the BBC Sport website and saw that Pep Guardiola signed a 2-year deal at City. First thing I thought was, is that the nail in the coffin for Ollie? You know, despite what's going on, he always seems to win that game he really needs to keep his job. But I don't know. I'm interested to see what you think. If it's almost inevitable at this point, no matter what it is.
Yeah, I know what why you're kind of saying that, given the whole Pochettino, the whole is it Manchester, is it not? And I think in a way, it may help him in a sense, because I feel as though I would be more nervous if I saw the news this morning that Pep Guardiola has agreed to leave at the end of the season. So then suddenly it's kind of, well, who's the successor? Yeah. And I think United would have a bigger call to make and say, we've got to strike early. City need a manager. They might go for Pochettino. We need Pochettino. So in some aspect, it's kind of may help him. But I'm never concerned with what City do, mate. You know what I mean? They're the noisy neighbours. They can do what they want. And we'll still be Man United. Yeah, they're pushing for leagues and we're kind of pushing top four, but it's just the way it is. But how do you see it?
You're a bit more relaxed about it, because I thought I can see what you mean. It almost takes one of the players out of the game, doesn't it? There's not there's not the time pressure to be like, we've got to make a decision now.
Yeah.
I think I just thought that it was with City, committed to Pep, it was now United's chance to guarantee that they get Poch.
Yeah.
It really comes down to how much they want him, doesn't it?
Of course.
But that's interesting. I saw it a different way, but you've maybe convinced me of otherwise there.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Premier League's back this weekend after what feels like ages.
I know it does. Is it a new season?
Yeah, it could well be. Yeah. I wish it was. It's it's a bit of a mad one, because we're coming out of this international break. The bloody Premier League's riddled with COVID now.
Yeah.
The injury crisis really starts. Yeah. It's really ramping up, and it just solidifies my my frustration a little bit with what I think are pointless international friendlies that we're sending all our teams away to go and play in. United this weekend. It's I always week on week now we keep saying it's a
every week's a must win.
Yeah, it feels like it is. It's West Brom. It's must win in the sense that it's a game you should be winning, I suppose. Yeah. How's your squad held up throughout this period? I haven't really taken much notice of the United squad coming back.
Well, just to talk about the game, and say it's a big win. It has to be. And again, this is one of those games. Honestly, if he does not get 3 points, he could get the sack, genuinely, because we've not won 6 games at home. We've not won our last 6 games or 7 games at home. So if you can't beat West Brom at home, no disrespect to West Brom, where's the win going to come from?
Yeah.
So there's something right there. But in terms of holding up, so Rashford had a bit of an injury, but I think he should be available. Luke Shaw went down for 6 weeks, obviously, at the game before, the Everton game. Not a big loss, in my opinion, but maybe it's a bit harsh. But the good thing is Alex Telles, our left back, who I've been wanting him to get more games. He's been having a few corona tests that have been positive, but apparently the one yesterday was negative, and he was seen in training. So that probably tells me that he's going to start and hopefully have that left back position nailed down for 6 weeks and then some, hopefully. So I think injury wise, we seem to be okay. The only one that we ever worry about is obviously every time Bruno goes away, you wrap him up in bubble wrap and say, you better come back, So from an injury standpoint, I think we're okay at the moment. I wish maybe Pogba could be injured, so then we don't have to pick him, but maybe that's just a vendetta. Must win. We're in good shape, but I'll throw it back to you. We're talking about Premier League, international, coming back, squads. Have you got the kit? Who's playing in the back four for Liverpool at the weekend? Have you got any of the kit man, or what's happening?
My phone's, I'm waiting for the call up any day now.
Yeah.
Think of the game. We haven't fared so well in the international break.
Yeah.
Salah's, we're not even sure about what he's doing yet for a starter, and that's COVID related.
Yeah.
He obviously took the time to go to his brother's wedding, which, if we're doing these international friendlies everywhere, then why can't he go to his brother's wedding? But you saw the videos, I'm sure, of him, on the dance floor with all his family and stuff.
Yeah.
Not entirely surprised that he's coming back with COVID.
Yeah.
Apparently he's had 2 positive tests now, and I think Liverpool are wanting to test him using kind of the British standards or whatever it is when he arrives back. So I think it'll be a last minute, decision when he arrives back in the UK over the next couple of days, whether he tests positive, and then whether he can play or he's going to isolate.
Are you taking him out of the fancy football team? Because I'm going to be leaving it up to the last minute. I've got Mohamed Salah,
Last minute decision. I'm hoping we'll hear before, or it could be tonight here, won't it? I'm hoping we'll hear something, maybe like UK time Friday morning, as to whether he's available. I really don't know, but it might be worth taking him out, because if he's not, he might.
A lot of money.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So back 4. Trent's gone down.
Trent's gone down. Trent's out. Gomez is out. Van Dijk's obviously out.
Robertson went.
Robertson, it was a bit annoying, really. I understand, especially the first game when it was a must-win for Scotland. They got the result, but straight after the game, he'd kind of complained about his hamstring being tight, and I didn't think he'd play again in the Israel game, which was a bit of a nothing game. But I suppose if you're Scotland, these are all big games now. People are proud. The Scottish team are proud to play for the national team, and he would want to play. They want to do well. But I was surprised he got a full 90 minutes there, which isn't great. And I'd like to see him have a bit of a rest. So I'd say it's fairly unlikely he might not play, but I don't know. The options in Liverpool's back 4 aren't great. The minute he might have to, and it just worries me as well. Everyone's that a few of the injuries we've seen, notably like Henderson, Trent, they've all come through fatigue. It's a fatigue injury, and it would just, it'd break my heart to see him pull up at the weekend, especially the ground he covers and the job he has to do for Liverpool. It would break my heart to see him pull up with it, with a tight hamstring. Heaven forbid he pulled it. But to be honest with you, if you're asking me now, he's probably going to play, because there isn't a lot of options. He's got Fabinho that he could maybe slip into that back 4. Nat Stewart.
Matip all right now?
Nat Stewart. Say again?
Is Matip okay?
Matip, I'm hoping he's going to be okay. Again, he's another one who doesn't recover well between games. The more we ask him to play, the more likely we're going to lose him. But looks like he's okay. So we might see. I think it's a decision between. I think Matip will play, and then it's Nat Phillips or potentially Fabinho centre back. Maybe Nico Williams will come in. Maybe Milner will do a shift at right back. I don't know. Midfield wise, we've got I don't know whether he's going to play Henderson. I don't think he's in full training, but if he's available, I'm sure he'll play. Thiago's exactly the same. We haven't seen him for weeks now. I'm not quite sure what's wrong with him. Whether they're saving him for when we need him, making sure he's fully fit. I'm hoping we'll see Thiago play at the weekend, but again, not sure. I think Leicester are in a similar boat. I think Leicester's defence also is a bit shot at. They've lost a couple of their lads as well. I know Castagne is out.
And that's Soyuncu's out for a couple of months.
So it's not only Liverpool, I'm having a bit of a rant about injuries here, but the whole City are in the same boat. The whole Premier League, there's a lot of fatigue injuries going around, and we need to get on top of it really, because it's only going to get worse, isn't it? I think our front, the front is where we are stronger, I suppose, at the minute. And I think Klopp's approach might be just to go a bit gung-ho for this game. I'm not too sure. The good thing for it, we've got Leicester this week, Wolves next week, which are 2 tougher games. But then we've got Fulham, I think, after that. And another, I forget who the other next game is. Easier games anyway. I think if we can get through this Leicester game, I think we should have enough, even with a bit of a depleted squad. We're likely to see maybe a Keita and Shaqiri maybe get some starts in this other period. So it's just about them navigating it, I think, and making sure that they're resting people as and where they can. But I'll be interested to see what the side is on Sunday, because it's a game we really could do with winning. Leicester are a top side, and especially defensively, looking at Vardy. We'll be rubbing his hands, won't he? And think this is a chance for me here to run riot. So
they're flying.
Yeah, I think a few experienced heads at the back. That's why you might see a Milner back there.
Yeah.
A few experienced heads, I think, will help us through.
I'm sure he could play centre back. Milner is that good in terms of if he does a job? I'm sure it won't be out of water though.
Wijnaldum's played there as well. Yeah. Again, it's not ideally what you want to see because you want him in the midfield, but if you're looking for experienced heads rather than the youngsters maybe in the Leicester game, then there's a chance Wijnaldum could even slip back there. So yeah, I guess we'll see. It's going to be an interesting first weekend of football. I think everyone's eyes will be on the injuries. Everyone's just going to be crossing fingers that no one else goes down, and we'll see what the aftermath of this international break is, I guess.
Yeah, it makes you wonder about the 5 subs, doesn't it? We spoke last week, and the more and more injuries happen, maybe the Premier League should have actually gone now and said, if every league in the world is doing 5 subs, then we should have done 5 subs, maybe.
It's going to take the likes of Klopp and Guardiola, and Solskjaer to come out and speak up a little bit. They need to put a bit of pressure on. And I think it is. I said last week, I think it's necessary. I think we're going to deplete our squads, which in turn depletes the quality of the football we're going to be watching. And the paying consumers here, everyone's watching on the telly. Yeah. You want to see a decent game. You don't want to see everyone's second strings out there. So a few other games around this weekend we can touch on quickly. The Spurs City one's obviously the big standout.
Yeah.
Again, squads, especially on City's front, a little bit depleted. I think Spurs will think they have got a really good chance here.
Good game.
How do you see that one going?
Tough, I think it'll be quite high scoring actually. Maybe like a 2-2 or something like that. But having said that, maybe my mind's changing now because with Pep Guardiola, I always feel as when people sign new contracts, whether it's players or managers, there's always a bit of a boost. And I think City have kind of been in limbo a little bit. Like, is he staying? Is he not? They've got this team that are kind of, are we at the end of our tenure? But I think now that Guardiola stayed for a couple of years, I think maybe that might give him a bit more, go, right, well, I'm part of I want to be part of the 2-year plan again now type of thing. And they might get a little bit of a boost. But I'll say City on the day, you can never back against them. And Tottenham, sometimes you think a shoe-in win for Tottenham, they let you down. So it's fascinating.
It's a chance, isn't it, for Spurs? I think it's a real litmus test, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are they here to compete?
Can they win the league?
Compete with City, with Liverpool?
Yeah.
And this is the first kind of time they're going to be tested this season against that. There's no reason they can't. Mourinho, he's got a knack of dogging these games out, hasn't he? And it'd be interesting to see what his tactics are. Whether he makes it into just a bit of a scuffle of a game, and he tries to catch City on the break with Son and Kane and Bale as well. I think he's in contention now. I don't know how it's going to go. I agree with you. We could see a very kind of goals in a game, but also tight as well. If I was putting money down on it now, I think City might have enough. I still think City are a top side. And I think they might have enough in this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was proved catastrophically wrong there and Spurs do a number on them. So interesting. I think the other one I'd kind of circled out for the weekend was the Leeds Arsenal game as well. I read a rumor this morning there was a bit of a scuffle on the training ground. I don't know if you've seen this.
All right, no.
I forgot who it was now. David Luiz punched someone. Anyway, I don't know. Okay. It was a bit of a rumor on Twitter, but the first signs of unrest in that squad. It's been a tough few weeks for the team, for Arteta as well. The first signs of a bit of pressure coming under there, and Leeds are a tough test for anyone. I think whatever happens to Leeds this season, I think everyone's going to come away from playing them, knowing they've been in a game, they've been challenged, they've been tested, and I just wonder whether Arsenal will stand up to that test this weekend. I'm really not sure.
Yeah. Well, I've not checked the odds, and I've just checked. It was David Luiz versus, so we should have saved it for the UFC segment, I think. David Luiz versus Danny Ceballos in training, to which he denies that David Luiz drew blood in the training ground bust up. But
like a duel.
I don't know what it is. A duel on horseback, maybe.
The jousting competition.
Yeah, who knows? But
I don't know what's going on there. Again, it might just be rumours, but you always, I don't know, there's no smoke without fire with some of these things. You wonder.
Certainly in this day and age.
Yeah, you wonder what type of pressures they're on.
But I've not checked the odds, but I might put $5 on Leeds to win.
Yeah, I honestly think it's a good bet. I think the pressure's on Arsenal, and I think the pressure's really off Leeds, isn't it? they know that they can turn up and cause problems for anyone. They've done it multiple times this season, and their style of football, gung ho, they could get caught. But I don't think Arsenal look that dangerous at the minute, and Leeds do. So.
And I think their away record, they struggle. I think they've got a poor away record, Arsenal. Yeah. So there we are. Betting tip of the week's come early. Get on Leeds, I would say. I don't know what they're paying.
Anything else particularly in your fancy this weekend?
I think Everton. You kind of want to see it's kind of a bit of an easy. You'd like to think on paper an easy game for them. It's probably a good win for them. They need a nice win there. They've got Richarlison, James, Calvert-Lewin. I think after the kind of Man United performance, this is a great fixture for them to now go bang. We'll do Fulham 3 or 4-0, and what we're worrying about, we're back.
Yeah. It's a good chance for them, and it's a bit. Yeah, they've got to. Again, it's another one of those must-win games. Fulham are crap. Let's be honest, but they're going down. And everyone knows that now, and you've got to pick up points there, whoever you are. So.
And I don't think Lookman will be on the penalties again. I don't think, will he, from the last minute?
Good one in his life.
So I don't think he's anywhere near it.
No. So I'm interested on that one.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we'll roll over to the UFC. A few, we've got last weekend's to touch on. We've got a card coming up this weekend that we'll have a look at. And then a few kind of, I guess, a bit of a look towards the end of the year and just say, I'd like to see a few things that you're interested in that are coming up.
Yeah.
So looking back to last weekend, main event was kind of the highlight, really, wasn't it? Paul Felder and RDA. And I suppose we've taken away the result and taken away, obviously, RDA got the win there. But looking beyond that, incredible fight, incredible performance, and just what a guy Paul Felder is. Like, how impressed with are you with Paul Felder?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it's one of those fights, there's no losers. No. There's no losers in the circumstances, the way he conducts himself. His post-fight press conference was brilliant, to Bisping saying, about people got to get their act together. This is what a kind of opportunity it is in the UFC and all that. So, I was so impressed with him. And the fact that he was on the Contender Series commentating 3 days after
Tuesday night.
Yeah, Tuesday night is that's the true mark of a man, and that's why UFC fans love him, and that's why we said it last week. He will be a Hall of Famer because he is UFC. He gets it. He is UFC DNA. He gets the product.
Yeah, he's a massive asset for the UFC because he's on commentary there, and he does a lot for them on commentary. He was over Fight Island for a couple of weeks. Does a lot of the Vegas shows as well, and it just does wonders for your credibility on the mic. When a week later you take a last minute fight, you make weight on what is 3 days notice effectively, and we know that he struggles to make weight anyway, and he still did it. Went out there, fought his heart out, lost and probably lost every round if we're honest, but not dramatically. He just came up short against what is a very dangerous
hungry.
Hungry. And it's interesting, he was a bit of the forgotten man, wasn't he, Dos Anjos, in that 55 division. Former champ. He's fought everyone. If you look at his record, he's virtually never had an easy fight. He's never fought anyone that's not, a contender. Went up to 170, did exactly the same thing, fought everyone. And, he didn't have as much luck up there. He's probably a bit small for that weight. In reality, he's come back down to 55 now. And all of a sudden, he's back in the mix. We're talking about this lightweight tournament thing that we're making up as we go along, but we want it to kind of happen. He's right in the mixer now, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? He talked about he's fought everyone and different things. As I say, it wasn't too long ago he was champion, and the fight was booked twice with Conor McGregor. And I know he broke his foot and there was injuries, and that would have changed. Financially, obviously, would have been a decent payday as well. But I think there'd be a lot more people that would know about RDA a lot more. I think that fight would have kind of changed his career, because you look at Nate Diaz, he went through the kind of 2 wars with McGregor, and now everyone that kind of raised his stock. Jose Aldo for the wrong reasons, but everyone knows who Jose Aldo is. They just know him as a 13-second guy rather than the 10-year champion at featherweight. But anyway, I think the RDA McGregor at that time should have happened, and
Who wants to see it? It was a great call out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think probably RDA needs another win, and obviously it depends what happens with Poirier. I mean, we can touch on it now. Obviously, that Poirier fight with McGregor has now been signed, done, January 23rd. depending what happens there, RDA's position there, and I think he'll be top of the queue to get that fight with McGregor because, like you say, it's supposed to have happened twice. People do I want to see that. I think it's a great fight. So I am really keen.
Yeah.
I also think, with the RDA, it probably worked out better for RDA that he did the last minute change of opponent to Felder because Felder's higher ranked than Makhachev.
Yeah.
Makhachev's, an up and coming lion. Everyone's very high on him.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's fought someone that's a higher rank than him now.
7, yeah.
It can only do, RDA can't look down now. Makhachev probably is not really going to get the RDA fight now, which RDA is probably, might be a sigh of relief because if Makhachev is as good as people think he is, RDA, it might have been a tougher fight for RDA, and he's kind of got away with on there a little bit. Yeah. So good on him, I reckon. And it'll be interesting to see, and we'll probably touch on it in weeks to come, how this lightweight picture, plays out. But RDA is right there, I think. And as is Felder, he's not lost too much credibility there. No. He's still in the mix. There's still really interesting fights, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. There's an interesting fight for him there that I can see coming off.
Yeah.
Elsewhere on the card, the standouts for me, the Chaos Williams knockout in the co-main. That was a very short night for his opponent there.
Yeah.
He's he's a marketing dream, isn't he? Someone called Chaos. This just got knockout power. Yeah. It's fantastic. So I was really impressed with that. It was a savage knockout. Jesus.
Yeah, it was. I know. Well, what a way to announce it, in terms of, again, and I'm sure we'll speak later on kind of about Joaquin Buckley, but the way that you to announce yourself, and you know what? And when you go through fights like that, you've took no damage. You've been, you've been wanting fights. You're hungry. So I think we'll see him on a December card. 1 month he'll say, "Dana, put me back in." Somebody drops in, "I want a fight in December." And Dana loves that stuff. You announce yourself, you get a highlight finish, and go, "Right, no damage. I want to be in next week. I want to be in 2 weeks. Get me in. I just want to fight and show what I can do."
You're right. It's the Kevin Holland. It's the Joaquin Buckley. It's the Hazmat. Chimaev playbook, isn't it? It works. Keep doing it. So good on him. The other one I was interested in on this card was the two young girls, Hansen and McKenna. Great fight, really, really competitive. The two young prospects, aren't they? They're both hungry. They're both super talented. And I think what stood out to me as well is they're both, because they're coming from this almost like new wave of fighters. They are true mixed martial artists. They were good everywhere. And that's this next wave they're going to come through now. And it might be a year or two away before they're challenging anywhere in top 10s. But you can see that the talent they've got, and I was really impressed with both of them. McKenna, the Brit, I think she's Welsh.
Welsh, yeah.
She got the win, so that was great. I was really impressed, and I was obviously barracking for her.
Yeah.
What did you make of the fight?
Yeah, it was good. Like you say, it was just a good, like you say, all the skills were on show, and they kind of. It was so close. They kind of nullified. They were so good that they kind of nullified each other and shown exactly why that fight was made in the first place. But in my opinion, I actually scored it to Hansen 2-1. I had it Hansen 2-1 rather than McKenna. But it was one of them fights that if it goes either way, you're not arguing. You're not going to VAR. You just go, all right, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Whatever. It's very similar to what we were just saying about. The Felder and RDA. Even there's a loser there, but there's not really. Neither of them are, they're not calling anybody out. They're not particularly, they're not in the ranking there at the minute.
Yeah.
So a good performance is exactly what you need. They don't lose any credibility over it. So they're just going to turn it around, go again as soon as they can, and just work your way up and get that win back for Hansen. And for McKenna, go again, prove that you're the real deal. Just keep winning effectively. So really impressive. This weekend, another decent card. There was two fights on the prelims that I wanted to quickly mention.
Yeah.
The first one being the Buckley. Yeah. So he's obviously turned himself around from Fight Island a couple of weeks ago with that knockout that went viral. It's a tough one for him because the pressure's on him now, isn't it? There's an expectation there. He almost can't go in and have a boring fight because everyone will be a bit like, it's a letdown, anything other than spectacular, which is. It's not ideal, I think really for him, he just wants to be going in there and getting a win, however that happens. But I think everyone will be tuning in, waiting for the viral knockout. Yeah. It's almost unfair, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. No, that was exactly what I was going to say. And I hope that it goes in with the mindset of, I've got the highlight reel finish, but I've got to get the win.
Yeah.
It's not, where's the next highlight reel coming from? You can't take your opponent for granted. Get the win, mate. get the win. Like, it's one of those
The higher up the
things.
rankings you get, the more dangerous it becomes to, to be looking for the highlight knockout, because you'll get caught out and you'll get knocked out or whatever.
And as much as, don't get me wrong, it was unbelievable from Joaquin Buckley, don't get me wrong, but there was also an element of his opponent freezing. So it was kind of, he grabbed the leg, and most fighters, you don't see that type of knockout, because 95% of fighters either drop the leg, or they get out the way, or they grab the back, or they do something. They don't kind of hold the leg and just kind of like freeze, and that split second, which again, it's a fine margin, but you're in the elite sport, so the fine margins in this game cost you. And so I think from Buckley, he's got to get the win. But I would say he doesn't strike me as a person who will take his opponent for granted. The way that he was with Dana, and he was like so humble to be there, and like Dana knows who he is. I think he loves kind of fighting, and I think he's got his head screwed on, and I think we will see him. Might not be a highlight, but I think he might go get a decision win, and keep rolling on.
Yeah, fingers crossed for him, because I think a lot of potential there. He's just got to be sensible about it.
Yeah.
The other one on the prelims that I was looking forward to was Brandon Royval. We saw him the other week on Fight Island in a great fight against Kai Kara France. He's a tough opponent, and he looked incredible. He was almost a bit humble at the end of it himself. That he got hit quite a lot, and he got knocked down a couple of times as well.
Yeah.
I think he was aware of that. There was holes in his game that he can't have there. But talent-wise, his striking was super crisp. He's got a big challenge now against Moreno. But if he can get another win here, he's right in contention. In that top 5. I think he's very dangerous, and I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah, absolutely. The battle of the Brandons: Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval. Perfect matchmaking. Moreno 2nd, Royval 6th. I think it's going to be a ban. I think it's going to be exactly what we think it will be. I think it'll go the distance. It'll be a war. They've both gone through Kai Kara France to get this matchup as well. Moreno's undefeated in his last 4. Royval's won his last 4. So, I mean, as a matchmaker, what more?
Perfect,
what more can you want?
Yeah. And I think the winner of this. Personally, I think Royval. I'm just looking at. I think.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go Moreno. I like Moreno, right. So I'll say Moreno on that one.
Awesome. Main card. There's a few fights on there that are interesting. I think the Paul Craig and Shogun Rua rematch.
Yeah.
Is an interesting one, especially it didn't. Paul Craig didn't get the decision last time, but he was fighting in Brazil.
Yeah.
If you let that go to the scorecards, unfortunately, you're never going to get that one. Yeah. But since then, he's on a bit of a turn now, isn't he? He's looked incredible, and it's almost like his last. He knows this is his last almost run. I don't know where it's going to take him, but it's his last run at light heavyweight.
Yeah.
And I think this is a fight that he can win, and I think he's going to be really out there to prove, that he should have got the decision last time as well.
Yeah, I agree. No, you're spot on. I was kind of edging to Craig the first time in a way, but like you say, judges probably would have leaned towards Shogun for a draw. And again, similar to the battle of the Brandons, it's undefeated. They're both undefeated in 3 because obviously they drew with each other. So it sets up a really good matchup. And we know Shogun will want to stand and bang and do Shogun things. Yeah. Whereas Paul Craig, I think he will kind of reflect on kind of what happened in the first fight and go, was I kind of playing his game or more than kind of Craig's game? So in my opinion, I think the best strategy for Craig is get him down and submit him and get the submission win. Exactly. And I think he will get it. I think I'll say kind of like late in the 3rd. I think it'll kind of be a back and forth, maybe stand up in the 1st, then they'll kind of try and get each other down, or they'll might, and then the 3rd round, maybe a bit of fatigue will kick in, and then Craig will find some sort of limb and get the win, I would say.
Once he gets hold of that limb, he's so dangerous. And he's known for super late submission as well.
Yeah,
he can pull it out of anywhere. I'm siding towards Paul Craig on this one.
Yeah.
Next, elsewhere on the main card, we've got Mike Perry, and Mike Perry worries me.
Yes.
He's fighting Tim Means, who's no joke. Mike Perry is, once upon a time, he was almost a contender, wasn't he? He was young, hungry fights coming through. I don't know what's going wrong with him, but he just seems like a very angry man that isn't taking it as serious as he should be.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a corner team. He's got his pregnant girlfriend in there and his mates. I don't know. I worry for him. I always worry that he's going in there solely to get paid and to continue doing the only thing that he knows how to do, which is fight. I almost feel like he's got no concern for his own safety, for his own well-being. It's not. I don't think this ends well for Mike Perry.
I don't. I think it's one of those things, kind of burning the candle at both ends. It's kind of like you're not setting. Tim Means is dangerous. You're not setting yourself up well in terms of a corner. The corner team are there for a reason. Hence, they wouldn't have them. Yeah, exactly. And again, he needs that word, and he's obviously got. I don't want to say it's kind of like mental health or whatever, but there's something obviously not right at the moment. And when I say burning the candle at both ends, there's a lot of stuff outside of the UFC he's getting caught up with arrests, with fights, and it's just not good. But Dana and the UFC have been around so long that they kind of really need to say, mate, until you get sorted, we are not giving you, if you love to fight, we are not giving you what you love until you get on the straight and narrow and prove to us that you want to kind of, because we want to look after you. We want to look after you, but we need to, and similar with like an Anderson Silva and a BJ Penn and different things. It's when it's in the water and it's not looking right and saying something's off here. They should give it up or they should intervene. The UFC should intervene. Dana will do it and he'll say, that's it until, he cares for his fighters. So he goes,
Well, speaking of Silva, did you see he was released today?
Yes. Yeah.
Which is, I just hope we don't see him sign for Bellator next.
Which I think we probably will.
I think we probably will, or someone like that. But the co-main event on this one for me should have been the main event. I think Shevchenko should have been the main event for this card.
Yeah,
he maybe her opponent being a little bit less known is probably cost her that main event slot. Yeah. But she's fighting Jennifer Maia, who took a chance against Joe Calderwood in the fight not too long ago in Vegas. To be honest with you, though, I don't see this going any other way than Shevchenko.
I don't.
She's so dominant. She's so good. She's so aggressive. She's absolutely terrifying. Yeah. I think it will probably be an easy night's work for Shevchenko, if I'm entirely honest. Yeah. Am I underestimating Maia here?
No, I think you're spot on, and I just hope it's not the Shevchenko that shows up in 2005 missing the penalty. But anyway, that's I'll never let it go. So anyway, yeah, you're absolutely right. People always say, there's levels to this sport, and there really is levels to this sport. And yes, we have seen upsets, and again, if this is an upset on the weekend, this will be one of the biggest upsets, and kind of one that I'm not expecting. But I can't see any other way than Shevchenko stopping her, and would probably only need a couple of rounds to get her out, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm looking at a second round finish. I think she'll take the first one to figure her out. Those the head kicks, the body kicks, they're so savage. Yeah. Her movement, just her intelligence in there. Yeah. It's a level above. There's only really Nunes that you can compare it to in terms of just being just such a dominant champion. Yeah. I don't see much threat for in that division, to be honest with you. And I think and there's young up and comers coming through, and eventually, she's going to come up against someone that's effectively trained their entire career to beat her. But I think aside from Nunes, there's not much of a challenge for her. I think she's so good. She's so dominant. Yeah. The actual main event, Figueiredo and Alex Perez.
Yeah.
The interesting kind of fact about this one is that Perez is the first person to come off the Contender Series to fight for a title, which I didn't know until yesterday.
No.
So Dana White's obviously got a bit of skin in the game there. He's got his Contender Series that he's put together, and this would really stamp some credibility on the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the series, if he can get a win here, and Perez is the dangerous fighter who's got knockout power. Yeah. He's looked incredible in his last few outings. But Figueiredo again, for me, without Henry Cejudo in this division, I think Figueiredo potentially could dominate this division for a little while.
Yeah.
I think just from the people who he's for, looking at the division, who else is in there to compete, I think Figueiredo is a level above, personally. But we could be surprised if Perez catches him. We know he's got knockout power, but I think Figueiredo is super dangerous, super talented, and he can end the fight anywhere.
Yeah. No, spot on. I feel the same way. Similar to Shevchenko, there's levels to it. And again, I think Figueiredo will get him out in a couple of rounds because, like you say, it's not just a level of opponent as well with Figueiredo. It's the way he's doing it as well. And in terms of that domination and just so clean. And he's very much, he is the new Mighty Mouse. He can dominate. I could see him dominating. Yeah. You know, if he had the belt for another 10 years, I wouldn't be surprised. I can see him dominating for a long time.
I think it's good. You know, it's almost good for the division if he holds on to it for a little bit, which I don't usually say, but I think it's probably the only way we can, or one of the ways we can, Henry Cejudo back out with time is to come and he wants a big challenge and he wants to come and fight someone who's dominated for a little while. Yeah. Obviously, there's the Volkanovski question there as well, but more in his natural weight divisions, Henry Cejudo versus Figueiredo could be great because as much as the gimmicks are with Cejudo, Figueiredo doesn't mess around, does he? He doesn't play with any of that rubbish. So that's something to look forward to. Yeah. So a good card all around this weekend. You know, I think for me the highlight Shevchenko. I'm looking forward to seeing her perform and putting a dominant win together. Yeah,
I would say looking at what we've just discussed and looking kind of the card on the face of it, you're probably not going to earn some good money this weekend on a multi because on the face of it, it's looking like all the favourites are probably going to win.
I would have thought so. I mean, maybe that's a bet in itself, but there's not a lot of years there. Looking ahead, we're kind of in the run in towards Christmas now and towards the end of the year. There's a few good cards, a few good events coming up. But there's a lot of other stuff going on as well that are building almost for next year that I wanted to kind of admire and see what you thought. Yeah. There was a video came out this week, from one of our kind of favorite fighters, if you will. Cowboy has come out and said that he's going to have a last run at 55. He was very confident, and he I suppose if you're announcing your return to that division and you're announcing that you want to go on this last run, you've got to be confident. You've got to get people interested. Yeah. Some of the stuff he was saying, like how he thought he was comfortably in the top 10 and could compete with the top 5. I was a bit like, I don't know, Cowboy. I'm not. Yeah. I know you've got to say that, but then I jumped on and I'd look at the 55 rankings, even outside the top 10. Yeah, it's bloody dangerous. Benir Dariush, Diego Ferreira, Makhachev's in there. Paul Felder is now going to be there in around, and this is before you even get to the top 5. Yeah, and I know we want to have this last run, but Jesus, it's not an easy division to think you're going to walk into that top 5. No. I don't know if I saw him beating any of those people, if I'm entirely honest. We need to see a very different Cowboy than we've seen recently if he wants to compete with any of them. Yeah. And I'm his biggest fan. Yeah. But am I barking up the wrong tree?
No. I'm right. When I saw the news, I wasn't happy about it. I was a bit like, really? And I feel as though, not say it's an excuse, but I feel as though when people are kind of late in their career and it's kind of, do I retire, do I not? They kind of use I'll just change division and to try and get like a new lease of life out of it when it's kind of like, as if is it, and they look at it and go, if you're saying I can compete with a top 5 and it says, well, let's look back on your last few fights. Yeah. So you drew to Nico Price, for example, in his last fight, but then before that, Pettis lost, McGregor lost, Justin Gaethje lost, Tony Ferguson lost. Yeah. So how can you beat the top 5 when I've just mentioned a lot of the top, a few of the top 5 there, and you was beat?
The difficult thing with Cowboy is, and he openly says it himself. It really depends on which Cowboy turns up. From the list you've just said, I would arguably say he beat Pettis. Yeah. But it's a very different Cowboy turned up against Price and against McGregor. Yeah. And if he wants to have this last run, it could come to a flying stop if he fights someone that's not even in the top 10, doesn't turn up, loses. What is he going to do then? Yeah. I mean, I want to see him fight. And, if he takes it serious and he puts this run together, who knows? He's got the skills. It's the mentality thing. It's if he can turn up on the day. And he addressed it in the video. He knows that he's got to have something, a trigger to get him going on the night. Because if you want to have a last run at 55, you're going to have a hell of a run to get anyone near the top 5. Because it's that division is stacked with killers.
So are you leaning towards a Felder Cowboy fight? Is that what you're leaning towards?
It's what jumped out at me in terms of a bit more of a narrative there, a bit more of 2 older heads in that division, and I think if you fight Felder, you're going to learn your level, aren't you? You beat Felder, you're top 5, top 8, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't beat Felder, you're nowhere near.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go back down and fight these hungry young lions, Makachevs, Diego Verheers. You're stuck there, and I don't think he does very well there.
Yeah.
I think Felder might be the perfect one to test the water.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
I think they should throw him in against Makachev.
But I think then you sign his death warrant. I think
but that's what I mean. But then
I think he ends his run straight away.
I know. Well, that's what I mean. But so if the UFC are kind of like, oh, so are you serious about this run? Okay. Yeah. Well, Makachev, we was going to feed RDA to Makachev because he's doing the same story that you are. The whole, he's doing the same thing. So we'll say, right, well, Makachev was supposed to fight him.
Yeah.
You lost to RDA, by the way, Cowboy. So we'll see where you're at. You see Makachev, and if you get through him, well, you might then go up the rankings. When for your Felders are 7th or RDA's around there, you could have an RDA rematch. You could see a Felder. You could see a Charles Oliveira.
Yeah.
And kind of, but I kind of feel as though Makachev is your 12th in the rankings. So you've got to come through this young, hungry lion if you still want to be relevant and compete with the best.
The difference between us here is I had my Cowboy hat on and you had your Dana White hat on. And it's what you've said is exactly right. And it's probably what the UFC will do. You're exactly right. They will throw him in with some killer and be like, if you want to have a run, cool.
Yeah.
You have to beat this guy first. I would love to see him fight Felder because I think there's more of a story there and you're going to get more fans tuning in I think, because of who they are. And, there'll be a good vibe between them, competitive, but, friendly, respectful, whatever.
Yeah.
But you're right. He's probably going to have to fight Makachev. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. And I don't think he wins, unfortunately. I think that could be the end of the road, unfortunately, which is sad because I do want to see him compete, but I also don't want to see him get whacked a couple of times and go out of his career. He deserves better than that. And I hope they don't.
Like Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
He deserves better.
I hope he's got the smarts enough to know, like, oh, okay, this is not going to work out. I need to call it here. But anyway, the other interesting one that we've got for the start of next year is Max Holloway's back and he's fighting Calvin Kattar, which I thought was a great matchup.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're going to see Max test himself against somebody else. We've seen the Volkanovski thing and it seems to have gone on forever. I can't remember the last person Holloway fought. Before that, it seems 3 years ago.
Ortega was it probably.
Yeah, it probably was Ortega, but that's over 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And Kattar, is a dangerous matchup.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic boxer. He's got extreme power. He's young, hungry coming up. That he's on his run. He thinks he deserves to be in the title picture. You've got to get through Max first. I think it's awesome. It's a great fight, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the reason that they've made this fight is because Ortega should have been in this fight if he didn't win the way he did, type of thing. So I feel as though Ortega did so well against Zombie that they've gone, he's got the title shot. But part of me thinks, was they lining up to do Holloway rematch? Was it going to be a Kattar or something like that? But Ortega's now jumped the queue and they've gone, oh, right, well, at least we're not getting Volkanovski Holloway again. So we'll put them two together. And these two, I mean, what a fight. I'm so excited for that fight because, as I said, everyone's kind of fans of Max, but Calvin Kattar is no joke.
He's dangerous. It's the power, isn't it? And it's I don't even know if he ever has, but it's very rare that Holloway gets knocked down.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an extra, a test of his chin. Yeah. I think, all round game, I think Holloway's probably a better mixed martial artist. But in terms of that crisp, clean boxing, I think Kattar's probably got his number. And it'll be interesting to see how Max approaches that fight. He's probably going to want to stay at range, isn't he? Use his leg kicks. I'm not sure how they match up size-wise. I'd have to have a look.
Would you say as well, because kind of Holloway's more of the name, would you say that kind of there's a little bit of pressure, not say off Kattar, but it's kind of Holloway will put you up against this person and kind of the casual fan knows you, Max Holloway, and they'll probably tune in for you and say, oh, who's this guy that's trying to... I remember Max Holloway,
It's a chance for Kattar to get a big win, isn't it?
Yeah.
He hasn't probably got that.
Announce himself.
Yeah, Jeremy Stevens, like
Ige.
Yeah, Dan Ige, but again, not big names. You beat Max Holloway, you're in the title picture straight away. There's a lot of good names in that division. Zabit, thereabouts as well. So It'll be an interesting kind of next year, I think, for the featherweight division. So
yeah,
looking forward to that. Mm-hmm. To finish out the year, we've obviously got the Leon Hamzat fight, which I'm really looking forward to. I read this somewhere else, but I'll use the same analogy because I think it just definitely kind of captures the picture of how this year is going to end. But Leon Edwards, he's had the roughest year, and it personifies everyone's year, doesn't it? And the fact that after everything he's been through this year, fights falling out, literally on the weekend that COVID started, he was the first one that dropped out, missed his opportunities, dumped out the rankings, and now he's been fed to this hungry lion that everyone's terrified of. He gets to be the last fight on the last card of the year. How amazing would it be if he got the win? It would just be so good.
It would.
I've never rooted for someone as hard as I'm rooting.
And just because of the circumstance where Dana's played hardball with the whole rankings, but you know what? We always criticise Edwards for, mate. No, but you're kind of irrelevant. So you need to call somebody out on social media. You need to get your name out there. You need to, who better than the biggest prospect in the hype train? That is the social media call out. The fact that the whole world's talking about the other guy, well, you beat the other guy, and you become the guy.
Main event card of the year. All eyes are going to be on it as well. It's chance, isn't it?
If you look up furlough in the dictionary, I reckon there's a picture of Leon Edwards, just because the whole year's transpiring.
It is funny. It's so funny how the whole COVID thing and this year and how rubbish it's been for a lot of people. It's so tied to Leon Edwards' year. He is he's the personification of having a rough year. And I hope he's able to rectify that and end it on a positive note. So will everybody else. We'll all be on that journey with him.
That's it.
Clean slate.
Do it for the UK. The UK are obviously struggling with the whole lockdown and stuff. So the UK fighter, bring the good feeling back to our waters.
December 19th. I'm looking forward to it. Last thing to finish off. There's also a bit of a mad event to finish off the year. I think it might be the same weekend as the Leon Hamzat, but it's the Submission Underground run by Chael Sonnen. He's put together a killer event. He's obviously got some of the high level grapplers on there. I think that's some Fowler's on there, a few people like that. But he's got 3 fights featuring UFC or current UFC, ex-UFC fighters that we don't see often in grappling tournaments. So on that card, you've got Cowboy, who we've just been talking about, is fighting RDA. They both fought in MMA, but now they're going to grapple. Unreal. We've got Ryan Bader, who fights in Bellator, was the light heavyweight champ. The current heavyweight champ. Is fighting Derek Lewis, which again is also, I wouldn't have thought I'd see Derek Lewis grapple, but there we go. And we've got Rumble Johnson, who's returning to the game. He's back in the testing pool. We expect to see in the UFC next year. He's fighting Fabrizio Verdum, who's coming off a few big wins and is actually just signed to fight with PFL next season.
Yeah, I saw that.
So it's just a bunch of legends who are going to get together and grapple. How cool is this? It's so good.
I know. Well, I'll tell you what, and not to be harsh on this weekend's card, but if you had the 2 champions there, that's a pay-per-view card. You've got them 2 champions, and then I want to see Cowboy RDA, Bader Lewis, Rumble Verdum. That could be a pay-per-view.
It's arguably better than the card.
It is.
Arguably better. I'd rather watch this.
So I hope Chael is charging for this event because I want to buy it to watch it.
Yeah. I'll be tuning in. I don't know how. I don't know what it's on or how I do it, but I will be tuning in because it's just a different way of looking at the fighters that we're interested in, and it's matchups that you generally probably aren't going to see in the octagon again. They get to grapple, and it's. I think for a lot of these fighters who it's keeping them active, isn't it? In what is a funny year, it's keeping them active. For people like Rumble Johnson, for Derek Lewis, I know Derek Lewis is actually fighting. I think it's maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks time. But for people like Rumble Johnson, who's about to announce himself back into the UFC pool, seeing where he's at, fitness-wise, how's his grappling, how's it going? It's a tip my hat to Chael Sonnen, who's managed to get this done because they don't usually like cross-promotional fights, do they? And somehow he's managed to pull this one off. So,
and that's obviously him using his name, and for us, if you look at that, it's kind of in a sense it's the MMA equivalent of the Nations League. It's a glorified friendly. But I'm kind of more interested. I'm kind of more interested in that than the Nations League. But this is kind of like their version of it, which I'm like, I'm actually all for it.
It's great. If it comes off well, I hope you see more of it. You know, people who maybe have a fight schedule for a few months and want to stay active.
Yeah.
You come and see Chael, come see Uncle Chael.
Yeah.
Watch out with the grappling match, and it just doesn't mean much.
Yeah.
You're not going to fall down the rankings.
Exactly.
It's a test, and it's
I know.
You keep fit.
And it's funny how you approach that, because does one fighter think, oh, this is a friendly thing, but the other one might be trying, and they'll kind of realize that they're going for it, and they're like, oh, I've got to, it's kind of that ego. There's that ego part to it as well.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's the same weekend as Leon Edwards, but we'll have to figure out the time. We'll definitely tune in.
I'm sure Chimaev will. I'm sure if Chimaev beats Edwards, he'll ring up Shale and say, "You want Guy? You want Guy to who am I fighting, brother? Who am I fighting, brother? I smash.
Jump in there against Derek Lewis.
I smash, brother. I smash all of them, brother."
Brilliant. All right, I think we'll leave it there. We'll wrap it up for this lunchtime edition. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. As always, if you like what you've seen, hit the subscribe button, which is like.
Have you worked it out yet?
No, I don't know. We'll see. I think
I'll point to every corner. I'll get one of them.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button, give us a like, leave us a comment, tell your mates, and we'll see you next week. Take it easy.